Tess, thank you so much for your time. I know you were in Gaza recently, and you've also been in touch with your colleague James Elder. What have you seen? What is James telling you?
It's hard to believe that the situation continues to get worse, Adnan, but it does by the day. We, of course, are hearing reports of people, including children, being killed while trying to access what little aid is available through these so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation distribution sites. That's really heartbreaking. As you just said, families should not be faced with the choice between dying of starvation or dying while trying to get food to survive. It's inhumane. But of course, we can't forget that the bombardments continue. And I was talking to James earlier, and he was telling me about a little boy, Assad, who lost his whole family in a strike over the weekend. He met him, and he's in a really serious condition with an amputation, with shrapnel in his body, with head injuries. And so children continue to be affected by all aspects of their life, from the bombardments, from the lack of aid, from the rising levels of disease. It's, again, the most dangerous place in the world to be a child right now.
Tess, I don't know if you remember, it's probably about a year ago I asked you a question, and I want to put it to you again if you don't mind. Because when we were talking, we both agreed that there's a difference between, say, a 5-year-old and a 14-year-old. I mean, how do you explain to a 5-year-old what's happened to their family, what's happened to their home, what's happened to their, well, they regard it as their nation?
It's really difficult. I think so many of the children that I've spoken to in Gaza grasp this better than I think I could have when I was that age. They understand that something tremendous and horrifying is happening to their communities. They understand that people that they love have been killed, but of course, they can't grasp the complexity of this unending, senseless conflict. They don't understand why it's still going on. And it is really difficult to explain that to a small child. And we're concerned, of course, about the mental health impacts that that's going to have long term, because the longer this goes on, the more that it compounds. And I think the other really important thing to note in terms of that age differential between children is the impact that explosive weapons have on children of about that same age. So if you think about a strike hitting a house, the youngest children are probably scooped up in their parents' arms. That 14-year-old probably has the quick decision and the speed to get away. But that middle age group, 5, 6, 7, 8, they're the ones who are being killed in the largest numbers among children because they're vulnerable.
Everybody understands that if a child is injured, treatment is needed. But Tess, how do you help an orphan? How does one help a child that's lost both parents? Who's taking care of all those orphans? And there's so many now.
Yeah, we estimate that there's at least 17,000 unaccompanied and separated children in the Gaza Strip. That includes orphans. It also includes kids that have been lost, some for an extended period of time, just because the sheer amount of displacement and chaos that we're seeing. 17,000. And we think that's an underestimate because it's based on a global estimate that we use. And of course, we know the situation in Gaza is severe and unique. We're doing whatever we can to help those kids, whether it's trying to trace remaining family members and reunite them. And we've done hundreds of reunifications this year of bringing children back to extended family members. But of course, that's difficult. It takes time, and in some cases, it's impossible. So we're there on the ground doing what we can. But the simple solution to that is a ceasefire to stop the displacement, to stop the killing of civilians. And as a result, less children would then be lost and orphaned.
We know that Israel has effectively banned the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, various food agencies. The World Food Programme, for example, is very frustrated at the delays and the checks that the Israelis are imposing on the deliveries. What sort of restrictions, if any, are being placed on UNICEF's work in Gaza?
It's a good question. We're still continuing despite all of the obstacles, like the World Food Programme. We've been manifesting trucks, which is basically a process of registering them to come into the Gaza Strip. Not all of those trucks are allowed in. The ones that are allowed in, then they're kind of in a holding area on the Palestinian side of the crossing, and we have to get permission to go and collect them, and we don't always get that permission, so that aid is sometimes inside Gaza but not outside of the crossing. So there's lots of different restrictions that hamper our ability to bring aid in, to pick up that aid, and then take that aid to the people that need it. Of course, there's logistical challenges, there's insecurity, there's damage to roads, as well as those kind of impediments that are placed upon us. So it's really, really hard work, but we are still bringing in supplies. We've brought in hundreds of pallets of nutrition supplies in the last few weeks. We've brought in vaccines. We've brought in supplies for the production of safe water, but it's nowhere near enough. And this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation alternative that is being established is not sufficient to replace the United Nations. We were bringing in 600 trucks a day during the ceasefire, and that's the amount that's needed to respond to this situation. But at the moment, we've only got about 600 trucks in the last 3 weeks or so. So the volume of aid needs to increase significantly, and it's there. It's waiting just outside. The gates just need to open for us, and those restrictions need to be lifted.
Tess Ingram, it's vital the world hears what you have to say. Thank you so much indeed for your time.
Thank you.